Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. A few weeks back, at the April 9th, 2025, oral arguments on numerous motions in limine, and specifically the motion in limine regarding family members in the courtroom, the issue of Mr. Kohberger's family being called as State of Idaho witnesses during the case in chief. And during the exchange, Ms. Massoth, one of Mr. Kohberger's counsel, indicated that the members of the Kohberger family love their son and brother, support him, and do not wish to help the state in any way, shape, or form. The witness list for lay witnesses, these are witnesses that are not expert witnesses, but are believed to have some firsthand knowledge. They saw something, they heard something, they know something, as opposed to an expert witness who comes into a case, a trial, with the objective by the offering party to have that expert help to explain something of relevance in the case, such as in this case, DNA might be one area where you're going to see some expert witnesses take the stand this summer at Mr. Kohberger's trial for both sides. Lay witnesses are different. They know, they saw, they heard something based on not expertise, but their personal knowledge. Now, if the state does go through with attempting to serve the Kohberger family, they will not be able to do it with the sort of ease that they might with other witnesses that are located in Idaho, because all that's required would be to have someone serve the subpoena on the witness that lives in Idaho, right there in Idaho. Situation's going to be a little bit more complex with respect to the Kohberger family because they are not in Idaho. They are across the country in Pennsylvania, and what we might be seeing is Commonwealth of Pennsylvania opening up another case regarding Kohberger, but dealing with the domestication of subpoenas issued by another state, here Idaho, where the prosecuting attorney will be asking the authorities in Pennsylvania to give what's called full faith and credit as a sister jurisdiction, another state, to their subpoena. So essentially what will need to happen is what we saw when BF was named as a witness on behalf of the defense back in 2023 when the defense was attempting to serve her to come back to Idaho and to testify at the preliminary hearing. As we know, the preliminary hearing wound up being canceled once the indictment was returned, as it was in May of 2023. But that's what we can expect to see if Idaho decides to try to serve with process, which would require the Kohberger family to come to Idaho. As Ms. Matha said, that there would need to be expenses paid for them to travel across the country to testify for the state. Now, this would not be the first time that Pennsylvania would be asked to assist Idaho regarding the catastrophic events that happened at 1122 King Road, because as we know, going way back to the affidavit of probable cause written by Detective Brett Payne, where Detective Payne asked to have a warrant issued for Mr. Kohberger's arrest, which was issued that same day, December 29th, 2022, by Idaho Magistrate Judge Megan E. Marshall. The problem here was Mr. Kohberger was not in Idaho. He was not even in Washington State in Pullman, where he had been living at the time while attending classes at Washington State University, working as a teaching assistant as well. He was across the country in Pennsylvania. So what we see here, and there are records that you can review if you go to this link, is that there was a case that was opened up. It was called Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Brian C. Kohberger. And there are certain documents here. You can see the affidavit of probable cause that was signed in Pennsylvania, that went to a magistrate in Pennsylvania to obtain the permission to go in and to arrest Mr. Kohberger, to take possession of his car, which Idaho believes is suspect vehicle 1. The defense has completely denied that. To secure certain property from the home where Mr. Kohberger was at the time. That was his parents' home. To take him under arrest. He was arrested and placed into the Monroe County Jail. There were swabs that were taken from his cheek, and there were other things that were taken off of his person. And you can read these documents to find out exactly what was taken from him. These documents, including the docket transcript, goes into certain of the details. That this was issued on December 30th, 2022, the date of his arrest. The case was active at the time, waiting for a preliminary arraignment that happened later that day. Case number, his name, date of birth, and other information. But what we see here also is a bit of interesting information that you might not know. Who physically went in and arrested him? We know from other court documents that it seems like it was a very dramatic arrest. There were a number of officers that went into the home. The law enforcement official who physically arrested him was Justin M. Leary. He was one of the 2 Pennsylvania state troopers, along with Trooper Brian Knoll, who applied for the warrant, who signed the affidavit of probable cause, and worked very closely with Detective Brett Payne in doing what needed to be done in Pennsylvania in order to secure Mr. Kohberger's arrest, secure the car, take items from the home, inventory them, and other things necessary that needed to happen. And we see here application, for example, search warrant and authorization, signed off by a Pennsylvania magistrate judge on the 29th of December, 2022. And you see here Pennsylvania state troopers Leary and Knoll signed this document that was presented to the magistrate. So we're going to keep monitoring this situation. What's happened on Friday is that was the deadline for the state to in-camera produce information that was ex parte, meaning the other side did not receive a copy of the information, and submit it to the judge, Judge Hippler, to review. There were details that the judge ordered the state to turn over by that date to determine certain issues concerning the calling of the Kohberger family to be witnesses for the state. If you have any questions, any comments, let us know. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you as always for joining us here today.